everybody, and welcome to the Rheumatology Nurses Society's BreakRheum series, where we're going to be talking to rheumatology nurses, nurse practitioners, and other providers about how they ended up in rheumatology. Also going to talk about what their daily duties entail and other issues related to their careers. I'm Carrie Beach. I am a rheumatology nurse at the Columbus Arthritis Center in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm also president-elect of the Rheumatology Nurses Society. I am fortunate enough to be your host today and want to let you know that this series is part of a larger educational initiative devoted to introducing current nursing, NP, and PA students, as well as professionals looking for a career transition into the field of rheumatology. This initiative has been funded through unsolicited grants from AbbVie, Gilead, and Pfizer. Additional education materials can be found on the RNS website by going to www.rnsnurse.org/workforce. So now I'm so super duper excited that we get to talk to Monica Richey today. She is a longtime rheumatology nurse practitioner who is currently at Northwell Health in Great Neck, New York. Monica, thank you for being here with me today.
Hi guys, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here with you guys. Have a suntan today. I'm on vacation.
I know you're making me look a little pasty, but you look happy and radiant.
I am. It's good to have vacation sometimes. I love my patients. I love my job, but vacation is important to keep us in our mental health.
Absolutely. So tell us why you initially wanted to become a nurse or nurse and then onto your nurse practitioner journey.
So my whole healthcare career started actually as a surgical tech. So back in Brazil, where I am from, I always was curious about the healthcare field, but I wasn't quite sure where did I fit in. And so I did a surgical tech, and I started working with this group of physicians for about 6 years. And eventually they got on my case to go back to college. You're good, you can't waste your time here, you have to go back to college. So I decided to go into nursing. And it was just a matter of getting into the right college at the right time. Mm-hmm. So I started my nursing career in Brazil. Started my university, and then when I moved to the United States, I transferred my college, and I eventually graduated from Hunter College in New York City. And then I was a registered nurse for 5 years. No, oh my goodness, 7 years before I graduated as a nurse practitioner. I did a good 7 years as a floor nurse, infusion nurse, which was really where I got my feet wet in rheumatology. So I started as an infusion nurse, and then started working in the Department of Rheumatology at Hospital for Special Surgery. And then after a while, I was bored, literally, honestly speaking, being just registered nurse. I wanted to do more. I knew more, and I wanted to go forward. So I went and I did my master's. And in 2009, I became a nurse practitioner. And then the people at HSS, Hospital for Special Surgery, I was already working with, decided that, hey, let's bring you in as an NP. So that's where my career as an NP actually started. But I had a solid base. I really had a solid base, not only as an infusion nurse, but a registered nurse before I actually went and became an NP.
So you said you got your feet wet as an infusion nurse. Was that specifically in rheumatology then?
No, I mean, part of it, so it was two. I had 2 jobs at the time. I'm a little bit of a crazy person. One was in a home infusion setting, and the other one was an infusion unit at HSS. So I did a little bit of both. So I had like a very good idea of what rheumatology was like before I actually became an NP.
So tell us a little bit about what your day looks like, what your workflow is like being an NP.
Busy, very busy. I see anywhere from 15 to 20 patients. I'm going back to vacation, and unfortunately, look at my schedule, and there was 27 patients on my schedule Tuesday.
Shouldn't have looked.
So, and we have 10 right now. I'm working in Northwell, so I transitioned from HSS to Northwell, and where I have more of an independent practice. I'm truly independent. I have my own patients, do my own billing, and everything is really, really, really good. I like the way they let me work in there. And so I start at 8 a.m. and have a little break for lunch, and then we go back to patient care. Usually I have half a day a week, which is more educational day. So we have grand rounds, we have like case discussions, and that's usually my Wednesday mornings. And then we have like another half a day for administrative, calling patients, which happens every day, but it's more specific to get returns and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I basically order my own infusions, my own medications. It's just a regular kind of clinic day, and sometimes I help in the infusion unit still because they know I have that skill. So if they're short there, sometimes I will pop in and put an IV here or there. It's kind of cool to get my hands wet there again. And so it's I love my job.
So what is your team like? Like who else is part of your rheumatology team?
So there's the infusion nurses, so there's 5 of them. They truly amazing. They help me every time. I was like, please get me my patient in, and they do. They're awesome. And they call me if there's any trouble. And then we have there's another nurse practitioner, Christine, that also worked with me, but now she's in a different office, so we don't work together anymore, unfortunately. And then there's 8 physicians, and I like the team because they collaborate and they see me really as a colleague. Mm-hmm. I can go discuss case with them. Sometimes they come and say, hey, can you help me out with this case? And it's a back and forth. It's really, they don't see me as nothing less than a colleague and a clinician. Have all the respect that I need, I guess, and deserve. In a way, mm-hmm. I've been about 15 years doing this, so a little bit experience there. And they're really, really, really supportive. They're, whatever you want. My chief, Dr. Richey, is super available. You need any problem, you have any questions, he's there, and he's always good to bounce off ideas if you're trying to. I was trying to redo a program there, and we kind of starting it again, so I had his support in there too. So it's really, we have a really good team there.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's very, very good teamwork. So what do you find most challenging about your job?
Most challenging is the amount of administrative work that there is behind the scenes. And that's, not just calling patients, but all the paperwork that has to be put in, all the insurance, prior approval, and all of that stuff that eventually it takes a lot of your time, and you get really like pulled apart from your patient. In my office, we unfortunately don't have per se like a dedicated person to each provider. It's a group. So most of the tasks are sent to me. So I do my own tasks. And that kind of, I think that if I have to say that that's the most challenging, that would be the administrative part, followed by patient non-compliance.
We know a little something about that.
Yeah, because it's always like, your patients keep coming back and they're not taking the medication. They're like, please, just give it a chance. I think that rheumatology, compared to when I started, back in 2005, which we have like maybe 4 or 5 medications, we have literally an arsenal. It's the best right now. Yeah. So we have a lot, and we have a lot to offer the patient. Obviously, we have to fight with the insurance company, and sometimes we also have to argue with the patient. Why do we think that this is the best? So, but I think that if I have to beat those, would be the most challenging for me, which is the administrative part.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not the fun part of our job.
No, not the fun part at all.
So I know a little bit about this, but can you share with us kind of how you've been active and volunteering with other organizations and maybe traveling to some remote locations to provide medical care?
Sure. So I was all for volunteer work. I did some volunteer work when I was in nursing school. We traveled to Dominican Republic. We had like a year visit there, and it was all about primary care. And then after I graduated, I was looking for, some other opportunities to volunteer, and I found this group, Gunderson, out of Wisconsin. And they actually do volunteer work in the Indian reservation up in the Sioux Reservation up in South Dakota in Rapid City. So I start going there every year, and they have absolutely no rheumatologists, even though Native Americans actually have the greatest or the highest rate of rheumatic diseases in this country. And because of the way that the Indian Health Service is set up, they don't have specialists. They basically just have primary care. So every year, unfortunately, last year there was a pandemic, so I didn't get to go, and that was kind of sad because they closed the reservation. They said nobody was allowed. So it was, I was seeing like 35 patients a day. I'm there for a week, and it was interesting because you literally have to do the whole thing from beginning to end in one sitting. So if you're going to start a patient on the medication, you have to leave the whole plan of care written down, because it's a primary care job now to follow up with whatever is going to happen. Challenging to start biologics. Is very limited. Prescription wise, imaging, all I had was x-rays. So it was an interesting developing of my clinical skills in the way that, okay, I don't have an MRI, all I have an x-ray, let me see if I can figure out what is going on with this joint without actually having, imaging studies. Labs was also because you send, a lupus panel today, you may get back when you're no longer in the reservation.
Sure.
So it was a constant communication back and forth with primary care. Hey, I got those labs. What does that mean? So it's like I have no idea. And sometimes we had to refer them outside the clinic to continue care if it was some, very serious, sick lupus patient or things like that. And it's sad because you can see that it's a familial thing, because when you see it's like, my sister died of lupus and my mom had RA, and it is all a very kind of like, you can see the genetic part of our diseases because it's such a close community. But they were very happy to see me, and I was very happy to be there. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully, I think this year they already say that until everybody's vaccinated in the reservation, they're still not allowing anybody out, but possibly next year. I'm looking forward to be back there.
Good. I hope so. Fingers crossed for you and for them. They need you. They definitely need you. So last question quickly is, what or why would you recommend rheumatology as a field for current NPs, PAs, nursing students? What do you love most?
I love that you actually develop this long-term relationship with your patients. I think you get to know their families, the parents, the grandparents. Sometimes you have everybody coming in, and it's like, oh, my mom has arthritis. I'm going to bring her over to see you too, right? So it's like a family affair. A lot of my patients, I know their whole family, not just as they're coming to visit, but they're actually my patients. So, and it's rewarding for you to see the patient getting better, right? Particularly with serious patients that, or come to you very disabled, and you see that, we have that advantage now that the patients do get better. We do have the medication. But I think you become a friend to them, and then there's the good and the bad, because sometimes, recently I lost a long-term patient of mine that was my patient back on HSS. She was a lupus patient warrior, had lupus since age 12, and unfortunately lost the fight. So, and you carry that with you. You remember every single patient, right? You do. You never forget your patients. So, so you have those, but you always have, like, I have my lupus patient now that actually came to RNS a couple of years ago, Kayla. She's pregnant. She's having a baby. And, so you have that, like, yes.
The good outweighs the bad.
So you have that, happiness that you see the patient able to continue their lives and becomes moms or graduating from college or, whatever it is that their goals is. But you have that continuation of care. and that tight, close relationship with your patients.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, I thank you so much for taking time out of your vacation, no less, to meet with me today. So I appreciate your time, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.